fighting of terrorism and support for Israel. Let me begin with the first, Mr. Speaker, and I will cite directly from the flyer, which I will table accordingly as well. The flyer states, Mr. Speaker, that the Liberals, and this language must be borne in mind, Mr. Speaker, states, quote, that the Liberals willingly participated in the overtly anti-Semitic Durban 1. For say, Mr. Speaker, this is a false, misleading, prejudicial, and pernicious slander, which itself constitutes a prima facie breach of privilege, associating the Liberal Party with support for anti-Semitism, and I might add, associating me as a member of the Liberal Party, and each of us as members of the Liberal Party, with supporting anti-Semitism. Mr. Speaker, this flyer is also false, misleading, and prejudicial to me personally and my reputation and standing as an MP, constituting yet another prima facie breach of privilege, and I'm referring here to these statements here with regard to privilege. Mr. Speaker, I participated in Durban 1 as a member of the Canadian delegation. I went to Durban 1, as did Canada, with other states in the international community, because we hoped and believed at the time that this was going to be the first world conference against racism in the 21st century, as I wrote at the time. But a world conference against racism turned into a conference of racism and anti-Semitism against Israel and the Jewish community. Mr. Speaker, I spoke then during the conference, I've spoken and written since, and at the risk of sounding self-serving, but I think it's a matter of empirical fact, I believe I have spoken out on Durban 1 perhaps as much, if not more, than any other member of any other party. This flyer, Mr. Speaker, purports to identify me and the members of my party with associating with and willingly participating in an anti-Semitic Durban conference. Mr. Speaker, not only did the Canadian delegation and myself speak unequivocally in condemnation of Durban 1, but this is an important fact as well, Mr. Speaker. The government of Israel at the time publicly commended Canada for its participation and the nature of its participation in the Durban 1 conference. The government of Israel publicly commended Canada for Canada's condemnation of anti-Semitism at Durban 1. Does that mean that the government of Israel, by supporting the government of Canada, was also identifying with anti-Semitism? What kind of absurdity is that coming out of the members of the Conservative government? This is not only false, Mr. Speaker, it is as absurd as it is false. Let me go to the second scurrilous allegation, Mr. Speaker. The flyer claims, quote, on matters of fighting terrorism, that the Liberal Party, and I quote, opposed defunding Hamas and asked that Hezbollah be delisted as a terrorist organization. Mr. Speaker, let the facts speak for themselves. It was the Liberal government in 2002 which listed Hamas and Hezbollah as terrorist organizations under Canadian law. And whereas the Conservatives now state in their own flyer, Mr. Speaker, I have no problem in commending the Conservatives for doing that which we or any other party would do. Let it be support for Israel, condemning anti-Semitism. What I condemn them for is a massive political identity theft. In the matters of Hamas and Hezbollah, the Conservatives in this flyer take credit for listing Hezbollah as a terrorist organization. Take credit for being... Mr. Speaker, if they want to take credit for regarding Hamas and Hezbollah as a terrorist organization, I have no problem with it. I have a problem with you saying that we in the Liberal Party supported Hamas and Hezbollah. For shame! For shame! Hamas? How can they take credit that after 2006, they then defunded Hamas? I mean, my God, Mr. Speaker, there has to be some respect for truth and some respect for honesty. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I don't split hairs with the truth. I'm speaking here. Mr. Speaker, the third allegation, lest they say that I would overlook this third allegation, and I quote, Michael Ignatieff accused Israel of committing war crimes. Mr. Speaker, as Voltaire put it, if you take something out of context, you can hang anybody. Mr. Ignatieff apologized and said the following, and I quote.
Order. I remind you. I'm sorry, the honourable member knows he can't use another member's name. You'll have to stick with titles.
The member for Etobicoke said as follows, and I quote, Canada is a friend to Israel. In 2006, at the same time that they misleadingly excerpted from his statement. Between a terrorist militia and a democratic state, Canada must always side with Israel. And then I want to conclude with his remarks, Mr. Speaker, because they bear exactly on the issue before this House, and I quote, It is beyond reckless for political leaders to try to score points by branding one another as anti-Israel, to try to win votes by claiming a monopoly on supporting Israel. My party will never claim to be the only genuine defenders of Israel